Hi everyone, I'm Dave Corellin, Head of PPC here at Dark Horse, and today I want to talk about some of the most common issues that I find in prospects' accounts when we audit them. It's the same problems we find again and again really, so I want to focus on just those common ones that I think everyone will find useful. So here's the 6 most common ones that we see. The first is relating to structure. Now, structure is so important. If you don't get the structure right, it's kind of like building a house with improper foundations. So when I talk about structure, it's about mostly the ad group structure. And we see very many accounts where we've got very conflated and excessively large ad groups with lots and lots, potentially hundreds of keywords in. Now, the problem with this is it's not going to be relevant. And relevancy is key to quality score and keeping the costs down, because if you've got hundreds of different keywords within the same ad group, there's no way that all of those keywords are going to be simultaneously relevant for the same ad copy. So instead, what you need to do is to split those out into single keyword ad groups or SKAGs. In that way, you can ensure that it's as relevant as possible. The second one, which we find very often, is pertaining to DSAs or dynamic search ads. Now, dynamic search ads have been around for a long time and they used to work particularly poorly, so people have a bad misconception about them. But in the last 4 years, Google's machine learning has improved and these have actually gotten better. How these work is instead of targeting by keyword, you target by landing page instead. But it's still possible to get this very, very wrong. So a lot of people will follow Google's best advice and instead of targeting all the pages in a very structured way, they'll instead focus on just targeting all pages. Now you can run into lots of issues with this. For example, if you're an e-commerce business and you've got Klarna as a payment method, then you'll often have a Klarna payment page with information about how Klarna works on it. Now, if you're targeting all pages, that means that one's targeted, and then suddenly you'll find yourself actually advertising on behalf of Klarna. It's best in the same way as you do with the single keyword ad groups to have single landing page ad groups in this case. The third issue that we find again is issues with broads, lots of broad keywords, and also relating to that as well, a lack of negative keywords. This is an age-old problem of listening to Google too much. Google will always push broad keywords. And if anything, they're getting a lot looser, to be honest. We found a couple the other day where we had a broad keyword for cat cremation services, and it was matching to search terms of stop kitten biting, which to me I think is a bit too far, to be honest. The only way to control this is actually through negative keywords, but often they're just found to be lacking, particularly those keywords, also those accounts where there's a lot of broad keywords actually in there. The next area where we find a lot of issues are just uncreativity in the ad copy. Now, people think a lot about PPC being all about the data, and they forget that it's actually a lot about creativity as well. At the end of the day, it's advertising. And lots of ads are bland and they can be very descriptive, but they lack that engaging and personalized element to be compelling. And advertisers forget to put themselves in the shoes of the potential audience and instead to focus on the emotions of people and trying to pull on them. And what we should be trying to do is solve the problem that the person has at that time. The fifth one is about lost impression share by budget. Now, we often see limited by budget coming into campaigns, and this is a big warning flag. And perhaps confusingly, budgeting should actually be controlled by bidding rather than the campaign budgets themselves. So if we're limited by budget, then what that actually means is either you should raise the budgets or you should actually lower the bids, which sounds a bit counterintuitive perhaps. But what actually happens if you say you've got a £100 campaign budget, if you set all your bids to £100, you could only actually get 1 click for each of those. If you set your bids down to £1, so you reduce them, then you could actually get up to 100 clicks in that instance. So in that way, it's actually better to reduce down your competitiveness in your bidding, and you'll actually get a better volume. The final area is on incorrect tracking and measurement. Now, lots of bidding these days is conducted by automated strategies, so it's more important than ever to have the accurate measurement. Now, a lot of advertisers will put in micro conversions alongside their main conversions, but instead of just being able to track those, which is fine, they put them in to be optimized against as well by the bid strategies. Now, the bid strategies by default will have the micro conversions and your main conversions of the same value. So you may find that you're optimizing towards the wrong data. So the focus says if you put in terrible data, then you'll get terrible results as a result of that. Thank you, everyone. I hope that was useful.